What is cooler than a walking house? Yes, correct, a flying house of course. Since you all really seem to enjoy my previous house transformation, I decided to step up my game and make a flying house for today's video. I wanted it to be bigger, better, have more intuitive controls and more features. Luckily, I managed to pull it off and created an awesome data pack, which you can download from my website linked below. The best thing is that the walking and flying house data packs are even compatible with each other, so you can have some epic house fights. But now let's get into the actual creation. Once again, I had to start off by converting a house into block model form so I could smoothly move it around. In my last video I said that the maximum size for a block model is 7 blocks. While this remains true, I found a workaround to get rid of this limitation. By splitting the model into multiple parts, I managed to increase the size to 12 blocks. This meant that with 4 armor stands, I could now build a 12 by 7 by 12 house, and using 8, even a 12 by 12 by 12 one. Before getting to work, I made a quick model prototype to test if this was even possible how I imagined it. Surprisingly enough, it looked extremely convincing and even the rotation was super seamless. Now that this problem was resolved, I took out my sick building skills and created this. Wasn't happy with that in the slightest, so I tried again. While the second design was a lot better already, I still wasn't convinced yet. If I was gonna make a freaking flying house, I wanted it to look good. So I asked my friend Google for help and copied the design I found there. Switching between blocks and entities meant that I had to somehow automatically build the house via commands. I turned on some music, sat down for a couple of hours and wrote a function that now efficiently places down an exact replica of this house wherever I want. Next off, I went into Cubic Studio and remodeled the whole thing block for block. The entire house was obviously too large to be exported, so I split it into 8 different sections, changed the display settings a bit and exported those parts instead. In-game, I set up another quick test and also checked if switching between these two house versions worked properly. Now that I had a house in entity form, it was time to make it fly. I started off by making the third-person controller. It uses the same principle as the one in my walking house, but I decided to give it a little upgrade. It now has a functional collision detection and will no longer teleport you inside of other blocks. It will basically cast a ray from the house to the opposite direction the player is looking in. After 20 blocks, it will save the position and teleport to pick there that the player is riding. If it collides with a block though, the ray will simply stop and mark the position in front of the collision. If the system doesn't detect an air block further than 7 blocks away, it will not teleport you at all, because that would basically put you inside of the house. Next off, I set up a little scoreboard timer and animated some armor stands for the transformation animations. After the helicopter blade slowly starts spinning, you will get a bunch of custom icons in your inventory. Let's start off with the movement icons. Select any of the arrow icons and then right click to toggle its state. If the icon is green, it means that it is active. So if we activate the up arrow for example, the house will slowly move upwards, whereas the down arrow makes it go down of course. If you try to activate a movement mode that conflicts with another one, it will override the old icon. So activating the upwards icon for example, deactivates the downwards one. Another small detail I added is the rotation speed of the blades that changes depending on which vertical direction you choose. Moving up and down is great, but of course you need to move forward too. So toggling the icon in the middle of your hotbar makes you slowly float forwards. This even works while having either the up or down arrow activated. You can probably guess what the last 2 arrows are responsible for. They simply rotate the entire house and therefore also affect the flying direction. You can use these 5 movement tools in any combination you want. I tested it all and after some debugging didn't run into any problems anymore. I obviously had to add some cool weapons to this house as well. Right-clicking the first icon in your inventory will drop a block of TNT straight down. It has the special property that it only explodes when it hits the ground, so you can use it for some guaranteed destruction. The second ability is a working tractor beam. Just right click the item in your second inventory slot and all the mobs directly underneath you will be sucked in. Using the exit icon will initiate another animation and transform the house back into its block form. I even made the house gradually rotate back and the blade slowly stop spinning. All the mobs you previously sucked in will now be located in the house. So if you want to get some villagers for some sort of market, you can just fly over a village with your house, get the villagers and fly back home. You might have noticed that it's kind of hard to see what's going on underneath the house due to the forced perspective. So I added one last tool which allows you to toggle the camera movement. Whenever the third icon is grayed out, you will no longer move around the house and you can freely look wherever you want. For everyone who wants to use this creation in a survival world, I also made some spawning and killing mechanics. Put the following items into a chest, drop a nether star on top of it, and your very own flying house will be created. If you drop a stack of TNT inside of it, the house will disappear and you'll get it back in the form of a spawn egg. If you want to use the flying house in combination with the walking one, make sure to drop both datapack files into the datapacks folder of your world and use the flying house resource pack, which also contains the models and textures for the walking one. Before I end the video, a quick word from our sponsor, which is myself. If you like my work and want to support me, you can either become a channel member or Patreon supporter. You'll get benefits like a command block next to your name, work in progress previews and early access to videos. I'm currently working on my channel about 70 hours a week, so if you want to give me something in return for all my hard work, feel free to join. A massive thank you to my current supporters Alex Benzi, Pello, Plick Gaming, The Smart Guy YouTube and William Paris. And that's about it from me. Thank you all so much for watching and I hope to see you in my next video.